Of course, joining us to have this conversation this morning is a legal luminary, Barrister Clifford Thomas. Of course, he's joining us virtually this morning. He is the Executive Director, Foundation for Civic Education, Human Rights and Development Advancement. Good morning, Barrister Clifford. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Janice. Good morning. Yeah, it's nice being with you guys on set this morning.
Good morning. How is the city of Uyo? Is it raining on your end, or is it bright Wednesday morning?
Sunny Wednesday morning.
Well, the city of Uyo has been where it is, except that the drainages are filled up with dirt by the people, and it's causing a lot of problems everywhere. Flooding, the incidence of flooding may become a disaster very soon.
And to also note that Uyo, or rather Akwa Ibom State, has been pictured and mentioned as one of the flashpoints that, floods will be affecting this period. It's something that we have been talking for the longest of time on this show, Rise and Shine, that people should do their bit, trying to prevent some of this flooding issues, while we also allow government to also do their bit as well.
That's a public service information from
Definitely.
you, and I hope our people will look at it. Flooding everywhere in Nigeria, the drainages should be desilted.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's look at the conversation and focus for today. Over 1 month in office, when we look at May 29th now to today, it's over a month that this particular administration had hit the ground running in terms of administration. Everybody seems to say, politics is over, it is now time for governance. So far so good. What will you say has been like a major achievement of this particular administration in the over 1 month that they have hit the ground running?
Well, my take is very simple. A government that promised to hit the ground running puts itself on the spot by people counting days, not even weeks, months, or years for the government. And the government of Umo Eno, I want to say, has responded to the yearning of people. But we want to, within the last 1 month, it's been able to touch lives, affect lives, meet with the real people. And when he meets with the real people like this, it raises a lot of opportunities for him. When I did a SWOT analysis on the governor and his tenure, I noticed that he is strengthening all his strengths and converting his weaknesses to strength. The opportunities is taking a strong advantage of them, and the threat is to reject everything that will serve as a threat to his administration. He has met with students, he has met with the physically challenged, he has met with a couple of persons which will help stabilize his government. In the last 1 month, he's been able to put in 1, 2, 3 intervention projects like the Ndeya project he's doing. I have visited that site and noticed that work is ongoing. He has done some spot visits without scheduling the visit, and that is what we have been looking for in a governor. We don't want a governor who lives in Lagos and operates in Akwa Ibom. And he has done less of traveling. The few traveling he has done are traveling that are helping to cement the government and help us have a handshake across the Niger. For this purpose, we want to say that since politics is over, we want to urge people to join hands with Governor Umo Eno to bring the needed dividends of democracy down to the people. That we commend him for doing this. We hope he will sustain the tempo.
Now, I think another question I would like to ask you in between this one that we're talking about is the fact that there was not so much of acceptance of the man Umo Eno before he became governor. So does this now mean that, hearing you talk, does this now mean that, when we put in contrast with some of the, the non-acceptance, let me put it that way, of him as a person, would we now say that Akwa Ibomites will begin to accept him as the governor of the state?
Well, the person of Umo Eno is not bad. In fact, his person is acceptable, except that the medium that railroaded him into power, the person that sponsored his coming to power, was the person Akwa Ibom people were very angry with. And Umo Eno has somewhat detached himself from that negative image and aura of the former governor. He is appealing more to the people. And I think the fear of failure is motivating him to work hard to succeed. Umo Eno must be independent, must be a man of his own. And if he must be a man of his own, he has a very dependable wife. He has some good persons who are around. Even though I am not comfortable with his saying he wants to appoint people on the basis of loyalty, I think he should appoint people on the basis of competence, people who love Akwa Ibom State, people who are ready to work to bring good things to the table and bless the people. So he is working overtime to ensure the people accept him and that he enjoys some degree of legitimacy for his government. Where you are ostensibly elected or appointed or forced on the people, you don't have legitimacy. But what is appealing to people, and even his most ardent critics will agree that the man is doing his best. And when a man is doing his best to bring good things down, we must also do our best to respond to him. So I think the civil society is up in arms to support him, and the people are actually up in arms to support him. Let him run an open government. He must not run a government with cultists. He must not run a government with drug addicts. That's why I want to encourage him to subject all his appointees to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to ensure that they go through that, they assess them, screen them well before they come out. He doesn't need to carry more baggages. He had enough baggages when he came into government. So we will want to encourage him to get the best done. And Akwa Ibom State deserves nothing less than the best.
All right, still looking at the 1 month in government of the governor Umo Eno, and we've seen him do a lot of things differently since he came, some of which you have also enumerated. But some of the catchment areas that was a difficult task for his predecessor, who happens to be the one who held his hands into office, was the payment of accumulated leave grants for primary school teachers up to 2022, of which we have seen Governor Umo Eno handle in this first month of coming into office. We've also seen him attempt to assuage the aggrieved pioneer retired permanent secretaries who took Akwa Ibom State to court over certain discrepancies in their welfare packages. Now, part of the conversations also that we also see that is further fostering his acceptability in the state is the fact that he has hammered and hampered on the inclusivity of other parties in the state, and even oppositions are beginning to even sing his praise. But with these kinds of move, how would you rate him so far? What are your thoughts, especially because we've had primary school teachers carry placards for the last couple of years in this state?
Well, part of the acceptability quotient for Governor Umo Eno is that he must work principally on a fire brigade approach in 4 different areas. 1, the emolument entitlements of retired teachers and pensioners. Number 2, he must address the issue of persons who had labored notoriously for this state and their entitlements have not been paid. It's held in billions of naira. Number 3, he must look in the direction of the sacked 5,000 teachers. Even if he chooses to employ 1,000 or 1,000, they will help the system. He must address that thing because it's still a noose that is hanging on the neck of whoever becomes governor. Then he must also show special interest in primary school teachers before we now start addressing the unemployed. And civil society will give him ideas on what to do with the unemployed, with power, and with the roads. So he wants acceptability. But if he must get it, he must look in this direction. And he doesn't need to look at, look, politicians will not help him. He needs to work more with civil society who have a direct access to the real people and can help him with ideas and push forward his government. But I think what he has done is from the starting point of the race, he has appealed to people by his action. This thing is not just talking, verbal commitment, no. But the actual, practical, active commitment he has shown shows that he will do more. I think he's been speaking with the people, and the people, his actions show that he is actually relating more with the people.
But again, one would ask, is just 1 month, of the governor now, doing some of these activities.
1 month is not enough. Janet,
will that
please,
determine, his furtherance into governance in terms of his activities? Is 1 month enough to determine if he's going to do Akwa Ibomites well or not?
1 month, he has 48 months to run a single tenure and 96 months to run a second tenure. So if he has done 1 month and he has done it so well, his first trust out there, he has done it so well, I think we need to encourage him. But 1 month is not enough to assess him. But from 1 month, we can say the direction he's going to. And we must all join hands with him to ensure that government is too sensitive for Umo Eno alone. No. If we allow government to Umo Eno, he will fail. That's why we must all, from all the political parties, from civil society, from churches, from everywhere, we must join hands with him to get the right things done.
But does his body language look like one that is also willing to have these collaborations and synergies?
I would think so. I might be wrong, but I want to advise myself to think very positively. That if Umo Eno is given the opportunity like he's been given, I'm very sure he will work well with the people. His body language suggests that he will be a listening governor. You see, the former governor openly and shamelessly informed the whole world that he doesn't read local papers. He doesn't listen to local stations. He only listens to Bloomberg, where he makes his investment. But Umo Eno is somebody who grew up here. He's somebody who has his business here. If he doesn't do well, they'll burn down his businesses. The businesses will go down. But when he does well and is relating with the people, I am very sure that from this 1 month he has done, the next 47 months should be better.
Okay, so let's look at from his background as a business person. We've also seen some of the initiatives that Pastor Umo Eno is bringing about in the state. Some of his moves are different. We know that his predecessor clamored himself for being one who was going to bring a lot of industrialization into the state. How we can score him on that, well, is left for another conversation. But now we are seeing Pastor Umo Eno raise initiatives to support through loans and grants for MSMEs in the state to thrive. And because we've heard him say young persons should go and find things to do and not just find themselves dancing around politicians. And he has created several avenues for his office to be able to be accessible to the Akwa Ibom person. Now let's juxtapose this in terms of the readiness of the governor to be available and help businesses thrive in Akwa Ibom, plus the readiness of Akwa Ibomites to be able to take on these opportunities made available by the state.
Well, I think Governor Umo Eno is ready to work. Governor Umo Eno does not live in Lagos. He lives in Uyo. And before coming to stay, establish more presence in Uyo, he had lived in Eket. He had worked with the rural people. He's not elitist in nature. That's what I think. He's not elitist in nature. And his starting point has been very encouraging. So beyond this, he is a real businessman. He's not a boardroom person. A boardroom person will pride himself of making so much profit like the former governor for Zenith Bank. But he was detached from the people. And when you are detached from the people, you won't understand what SMEs mean. You won't understand what it means to improve the banana seller's business with 50,000. You won't understand a lot of things, but I think it should be more structured. Umo Eno is strong in the hospitality industry in Akwa Ibom State. And because he is on ground, he knows the dynamics of this business, the one that bring profit or not. And he will know what to do to create a very clement business environment for the thriving and thriving Akwa Ibom indigenes who are ready to do business. But he needs to sit down and speak with people like us and those who are ready to help him, so that he can go into the riverine communities and see how to make more profit from the business there and help more people. We need a reticulation and circulation of profits now. Even if he goes into profit sharing with the people, he would have ended up creating more jobs. He would have ended up helping the state tax regime to improve. It would be a win-win situation. And will provide welfare, social amenities for the people. So if he can improve on the business environment, I'm very sure Akwa Ibom will come out better.
Okay, I like that, you know, he's business oriented, more like an. When we say that we're trying to make the business environment in Akwa Ibom thrive, now there are issues of insecurity in Akwa Ibom State, and I'm just going to read out a particular comment here that was addressed to the governor on you know, on his social media. It says, "Governor, it would be nice to take a look at the increasing crime rate in the state, especially in Uyo. Armed robbery is becoming normal, and this shouldn't be." And a couple of weeks ago, we heard that there were serious cold clashes, you know, around the Uyo environs. So when we even talk about, you know, creating enabling environments, making the business environment to thrive better, how much can it thrive with, you know, a state that is crime inclined? So I think that's a major task that the governor should be looking at, Barrister Clifford.
There is a correlation between bad governance by the government and increased crime rates. There's a correlation. If the government personalities there are busy stealing and not reaching out to the people will also devise a means of stealing from them. And not just stealing from them, but stealing from even fellow citizens. So the government must sit down and become more purposeful in designing programs that will make the people see the government as a responsible one. Now, the issue of security, saying buying vehicles, armor tanks, and all of this, you don't need to militarize the state. You need to operate on the mentality of the people. There's no security in structures you put around you. There's security only when the people accept you, when the people are ready to work with you. Design programs that will engage the energy of the youth in something more productive, and government cannot do it alone. Government must reach out to people who are ready to design programs. Government must reach out to people who can utilize the energies of the youth and channel it from something destructive to something productive. It's not, you don't need a Harvard-trained person. In fact, any Harvard-trained person or Yale-trained person who comes to say he will function well in Africa is a liar. You can get somebody from Uduakpan and them or Ita Market to sit down with you and tell you, this is the decade. We relate with criminals every day. They are living in our society, in our communities. Some of us, we know them. But because we are not sure of what even the authorities, the police, will do with the information we give them, we become afraid. So what you do is don't kill them. Don't just arrest them and destroy them. Use them as a virus to infiltrate the larger crime community. And then you weaken that larger crime community and they become more productive. The answer lies with engaging more of civil society, because we relate to these people every day. But government people, they are very detached. They drive in their big black tinted jeeps and foreigners, and then will not want to relate with the average person outside. But we are the street fighters, we are the foot soldiers. We have a couple of them, not only do we have a couple of them who can sit down with the government and say, for security, this is what we can do.
Okay, that's a very valid point that you have, said there, and we cannot overemphasize the place of civil society organizations within the state. Like you keep, reiterating, they understand the nooks and crannies and certain fabrics of society. So we do hope that this administration will leverage on that. But then you raised an issue with regards to the need for structure. Yes, we have seen Governor Umo Eno bring forth a very healthy energy, we must say, to his style of governance since entering office in the last 1 month. But going back on structure, we've also seen him attempt to live by the promises he made during his campaign. So most of the energies that he's already exerting are drawn line by line with the Arise agenda of his administration for Akwa Ibom State. For instance, he had rather promised during his campaigns that he was not going to leave abandoned projects from the past administration. So we've seen him, alongside his deputy, Akone now visit certain sites and projects that were started from, former administrations. When we look into this, the e-library is part of that, the wet and dry park are some of the places where he has visited. Of course, you had mentioned about his unannounced visitations, but do you think that this is something he's going to be able to carry on? Because the energy is good, but let's look at sustenance and the structure around these visitations that will make sure that going beyond that the governor had come in the first month of office, is he going to do something about these things literally?
Well, Mr. Governor did not have a structure while campaigning and when he came into office. The government is only borrowing structure, existing on borrowed structure, and it's not good. This is when he must work towards the people for legitimacy to be established. And he is a very vibrant young woman. That is deputy governor. Appeal to a special set of people. So while he is busy working, he should stop her from also working. They must have the same vision, the same mission, the same objective, the same aim, and say we need to get the people on our side. Deputy Governor is working in this direction. I'll be working in this direction. He must not appropriate all the work to himself. He must allocate funds to the office of the Deputy Governor and say, please, he has never been governor before, but he has been a successful businessman. The same successful business principles he used of inclusiveness is what he should do. Akone is moral and the coastal communities. So he should allow us to be able to, the deputy governor, be able to reach out to the women folks, to the traders, to fishermen, to farmers, and then while he's doing the same thing in the hinterland, Akon should be doing the same thing as we are meeting with the people. Akon Yaranyi is a woman of substance. So between both of them, they should build the structure. The structure is about legitimacy. The structure is all about the people agreeing to work with them. They will be amazed at how far they can go when they put up their own structure in place. Not the board structure is existing on now. They can always betray him or sabotage his effort with the borrowed structure that he's using right now. So he needs to change things quickly, but without upsetting the board, because the former governor gave him a structure which will not last long. Because it's, what he's doing right now is actually not in tandem with the desire of the former governor. He needs to make new friends. He needs to reach out to the federal government. He needs to get the seaport working. He needs to create a railroad linking Akwa Ibom with some border communities of other states. He needs to do a lot of things. What about power? He needs to create a conducive power generation, transmission, and distribution paradigm so that people can get an established factories for people to be employed. What was done by the former governor was, I wanted to say a fraud. The industry thing was saying, but I would say those things were not real. They were not realistic. Peacock print is not working.
Okay.
The pencil factory is not working. the toothpick factory is not working. We can't see a lot of this thing. So he has a larger burden. He is the bridge between the former government and the people. So he must work to ensure that the objectives of the former government are positively realized, not the ones against the people, but the ones for the people. That is when he can conveniently say he has a structure, and the structure is working in the interest of Akwa Ibom State. My loyalty is to Akwa Ibom, not to the governor. And people will know that it's the governor that is in charge of the government and Akwa Ibom State. So when you railroad the loyalty to him and give him brilliant ideas, the state will come out better.
I think you just played into my very last question for you this morning. When we even talk about, sabotaging the former government, and I know that some people would even call for a probe into some of the things that former governor Umo Eno actually did, but again, let us see, how can we even begin to separate the governor now, Umo Eno, from his predecessor, given the fact also that Udomi Manuel is the godfather to Umo Eno, and he single-handedly brought him into governance. And Umo Eno has said that, look, for whatever is worth, I'm going to still be paying allegiance to you. So how do we begin to separate these two people, in terms of government? Won't there be some kind of interferences?
Remember what I said much earlier. Mr. Umo Eno has a larger burden, because one person stood his ground and said you must become governor, and the sins of that person, and which the people are amplifying every day and saying he didn't do well in this direction, he didn't do well in this direction. We cannot come and publicly kill our former governor. No. We must actually go through his programs again. He probably meant well. The former governor probably meant well, but the implementation didn't go down well with the people. When you sit in government house and imagine and assume that a community must take this project, it is wrong. They will sabotage it. So, Governor Umo Eno is more mature, more sensible, more realistic. He will not insult the former governor just because he wants to detach himself from some of those principles, or he wants to assert his authority as the sitting governor. And everything rises and falls on leadership, according to John Maxwell. If Mr. Governor fails today, it is not Udomi Manuel that failed. It is Umo Eno that failed. And he knows that fact. And he's carrying that burden. So he will be able to manage the relationship he had with the former governor and the expectations of the people. If he can jostle it well, then all glory to God and the benefit to humanity.
Okay, very great conversation this morning. But before we let you go in just a minute, we'd like for you to foster some expectations. So far, so good. This has been 1 month, and Pastor Umo Eno is now referred to as the street governor. What will be your expectations on behalf of the Akwa Ibom people of this administration going forward?
Well, my expectations will be, let him not emphasize on loyalty, those who supported me to win the election. He will compensate them somehow. But for his government to work, he needs people who love the state, people who have brilliant ideas, and who have the zest and energy. He must relate more with them. Number two, he should find a way of meeting more with the people. Passing through third parties or surrogates to talk to the people, it's a very bad thing in government. He must relate to the people. Even if it means he has to go to people's houses, let him go to people's houses. Let us for once have a governor that wants to work with the people. Number three, there are stakeholders who were ostracized by the former governor, who were not respected, whose ideas were not taken into consideration. He should create a bridge to reach out to them. Number four, he must create a balance, an equilibrium with the federal government. And then whoever is appointing into government should not just come and wait for allocation from the federal government or resources of the state to do something. Set a target that you must also bring investment from outside the country, from everywhere. Open up the government to the people. Once you open up the government, you tell us that you won't be spending so much, but you'll be achieving so much. That's my expectation.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Clifford Thomas, Esquire. Executive Director, Foundation for Civic Education, Human Rights and Development Advancement. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure getting to share from your wealth of experience and knowledge.
Well, thank you very much, Janice. Thank you, Ria.